What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to Game Day with Trey. Of course, this is your host, Trey. And today, we're going to talk about this Sunday morning NFL matchup between the New York Jets and the Minnesota Vikings. All right, so this game will be played on October 6th. 9:30 a.m. East Coast time is when this game kicks off in Tottenham, Great Britain. All right, so the odds right now is Minnesota minus 2.5. The over/under is set at 40.5. Some places you can get it at 40. All right, and at one point it was all the way up to 43.5. So you already see where the trends are, where the money's coming in at. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and let's talk about this matchup real quick. So the Jets kicked off the 2024 season with a pretty shaky game versus the San Francisco 49ers. That one was a loss, 32-19. The good news is New York won their next pair, 24-17 versus the Titans and 24-3 versus the lowly New England Patriots. Here's the thing, though. New York took their second loss of the year last week at home versus the Denver Broncos. All right, the Jets couldn't find the end zone in that one, resulting in a 10-9 defeat. Let's take a look at how that happened real quick, guys. All right, so the Jets allowed Bo Nix to throw 12 for 25 for 60 yards and 1 touchdown. Williams to carry 16 carries for 77 yards, and Courtland Sutton only had 3 receptions for 60 yards and 1 touchdown, guys. Whereas Aaron Rodgers came out there, he went 24 for 42 for 225 yards. Braylon Allen, 8 carries for 34 yards, and Mike Williams, he had a solid day with 4 receptions for 67 yards. Time of possession, New York owned the time of possession, 31 minutes and 44 seconds to 28 minutes and 16 seconds. New York won the total yards, 248 to 186. They both had 1 turnover, and New York had 16 first downs to Denver's 12 first downs, guys. So how did this game turn out with Denver beating the New York Jets, man? I mean, well, it could actually be this. Passing first downs. They passed the ball, Jets passed the ball 10 times on first down and only ran the ball 4 times on first down. Whereas Denver did what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to lean on their running game. They got a young quarterback. So they passed the ball 3 times on first down and ran the ball 8 times. All right, now the third down, it was close there. I mean, Broncos went 3 for 14. The Jets went 4 for 17. So it's really just, I don't even know, man. That's crazy. Okay, it could be the 13 penalties for 90 yards that cost the Jets that game versus the 5 penalties for 74 yards. Yeah, 13 penalties will definitely hurt you. From what I hear, it was a lot of false starts and things like that going on out there in that game. But anyway, so let's go ahead and let's look at the at the next team, man. So the Minnesota Vikings. Over on the Vikings side, they've been blemish free, of course. Starting off perfect. Okay, with a couple of close calls. First came a 28-6 opener win over the Giants, which none of us thought too much about because it was the Giants. And then they went on and won 23-17 to escape over the 49ers. And then game 3 was another win with 34-7 versus the Houston Texans. And then they backed that up by beating the brakes off of the Green Bay Packers, at least for the first 3 quarters. Green Bay did come back a little bit. But the Vikings were up 28-7 by the end of the first half, but they had to hang on for a 31-29 victory. Okay, up there in Lambeau. Sam Darnold posted 275 yards with 3 scores and a pick, while Aaron Jones rushed 22 times for 93 yards. So looking into that matchup and what exactly took place out there and how that worked out, okay, Jordan Love, he went out there, he went 32 for 54 for 389 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. And that was the key right there. That Minnesota defense, guys. Well, whereas we already know what Sam Darnold did. And then Josh Jacobs, he carried the ball 9 times for 51 yards. Jalen Reed had 7 receptions for 139 yards and 1 touchdown. Justin Jefferson, he had 6 receptions for 85 yards and 1 touchdown, if I failed to mention that. So Minnesota won the total, Green Bay won the total yards battle, 465 to 374. Minnesota barely edged them out on the turnovers because Green Bay had 4 turnovers in that game to Minnesota's 3 turnovers. And Green Bay barely edged them out on the first downs. Green Bay had 24 first downs to Minnesota's 22 first downs. Minnesota did, however, control the time of possession with 32 minutes and 15 seconds to Green Bay's 27 minutes and 45 seconds. When you're looking at what they did on the first down, so Minnesota went passed 11 times and ran 8 times on first down, whereas Green Bay, man, they passed the ball 19 times on first down and only ran the ball 3 times on first down. They were both the same on third down efficiency. 4 for 11 was Minnesota, while Green Bay went 4 for 12. So and then when it came to the red zone, they were Minnesota went 3 for 5, and Green Bay went 4 for 5. They both had significant amount of penalties because Minnesota had 7 penalties for 55 yards, whereas Green Bay had 8 penalties for 68 yards, guys. All right. So looking at these two teams and looking at the injury report and who's going to actually make it out there for this game. Of course, we know Aaron Rodgers is questionable managing a knee injury. It's unknown if he'll take the field versus Vikings on Sunday, but I guarantee he'll be out there. Fotu, he's still questionable with the hamstring. He missed the last 4 games due to that hamstring injury. Up in the air if he's going to be out there for this game. CJ Mosley, he's still questionable. He sat out the last 2 games with the foot injury. So no one knows whether or not he's going to actually make it out there or not. Morgan Moses sat out the previous matchup due to an ankle injury, and it's uncertain if he'll be back for the offensive line. And then when you look at Minnesota, Christian Darrisaw, he's got an illness, so he's questionable. See if he'll be out there. Yvonne Pace Jr., he's questionable with the quadricep injury. Unclear if he'll take the field. Garrett Bradbury, he's questionable with the knee injury. Brian O'Neill, he's questionable with the elbow injury. Both of them are up in the air whether or not they'll take part in the game on Sunday. Dallas Turner, he's still questionable with the knee. He missed the previous 2 games with a knee injury, and it remains to be seen if he'll be back out there on the field for this game. Okay? So when you're looking at what these two teams have done thus far this season, New York Jets are averaging 19 points a game, which is 21st in the NFL, but they're going against Minnesota's number 4 overall defense in the NFL, which only gives up a total of 14.8 points per game, guys. All right, now, on third down, the Jets are the 3rd best in the NFL. They convert 46.3% of their third downs, but they're playing against the number 9 total defense in the NFL when it comes to opposing third down conversions, because Minnesota only allows their opponents to convert 31.48% of the time on third down, guys. Then when you look at the red zone, the Jets, when they get to the red zone, they score. Now, there's 60% of the time they get in that box, man. That's 11th in the NFL, and they're going against Minnesota, who's, honestly, this is their worst stat. They're 13th in the NFL, allowing opposing teams to score 50% of the time that they score a touchdown, 50% of the time they get to the red zone, guys. All right, so when you're looking at the inverse and you're looking at Minnesota on offense, Minnesota has the 4th best offense in the NFL. So they're scoring 29 points a game, guys. And the Jets got the 5th best defense in the NFL, coming in, dropping, letting the opponent score 15.5 points per game. All right, so third down, Minnesota converts 43.48% of their third downs. That's 9th best in the NFL, versus the Jets. They allow people to convert 32% of their third downs. Red zone, if Minnesota gets to the red zone, they're going to check that box, man. 66.67% of the time, they score a touchdown. That's 8th best in the NFL. But the thing is, the Jets' defense is pretty good in the red zone, man. They're 4th best in the NFL, and they only allow 36.36% of opposing teams to score touchdowns. Okay, so that means 36.36% of the time they'll allow you to score a touchdown. Outside of that, you ain't checking that box, man. And that could mean trouble for the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, I know they've played some real good teams so far this season. Heck, they beat San Francisco, beat Houston. But this Jet defense is pretty mean, man. Okay, so as far as Passing, okay, because that's where the Jets are going to have to try to get off, because they're not going to be able to run the ball on Minnesota. Minnesota is number 2 overall defense against the run in the NFL. They only allow 3.8 yards per rush and 75 yards a game. That's number 2 in the NFL. And the Jets don't do it anyway, because they're 27th in the NFL, worst running the ball. They only run 3.7 yards per carry, and they're only getting 91.5 yards a game, guys. So it's going to be a passing game for them. And then when you look over at Minnesota's run game, they're averaging 4.4 yards per game. That's 15th in the NFL. And the Jets' run defense is actually 20th in the NFL. They allow 4.6 yards per attempt. Okay, and then when you're looking at the total game, Minnesota's rushing for 123.8 yards a game. That's 14th in the NFL, and the Jets allow 128.5 yards a game. That's 20th worst in the NFL. So plenty of opportunity for Aaron Jones and Minnesota to go out there and put up some yards on the ground. All right, but then when you look passing, where the Jets' strength should be at, right? They're passing 64.71% completions. That's 20th in the NFL, but they're going against Minnesota. Minnesota only allows people to complete 62.5% of their passes. That's 9th best in the NFL, guys. Now, when you're looking at Minnesota's passing offense versus the Jets' passing defense, man, the Jets' passing defense is like that. Okay, they only give up 5.6 yards per pass. All right, that's second in the NFL, even though Minnesota is getting 8.8, which is second in the NFL. So you get a little battle right there, man. Then, of course, we know Sauce is going to be on Justin Jefferson. So Jordan Addison will be key for Minnesota in this game. All right, so when you're looking at these teams, you also have to pay attention to what's been going on with these stat splits, man. So on the road, the Jets score 21.5 points per game, and they give up 24.5 points per game. Whereas Minnesota, when they are in the slotted in as the home team, they're going to score 28.5 points per game, and they're going to give up 12 points. All right, now in the last 3 games, the Jets have only been scoring 19 points a game and giving up 10 points a game, whereas Minnesota is scoring 29.3 points a game and giving up 17.7 points per game, guys. All right, situationally, we all know that the Jets are 2-2 and Minnesota's 4-0, right? But this game's going to be on a neutral site, so I kind of like to look at these teams as if they're both away teams. All right, so against the spread, the Jets on the road are 1-1, whereas Minnesota on the road is 2-0. Okay, all right. Now when you look over under, all right, the Jets are 1-2-1. That's 1 over, 2 unders, and 1 push, and Minnesota is 1 over and 3 unders, guys. In the current situation as a road favorite, okay, it's 0 overs and 1 under for Minnesota. And then as an away underdog, the Jets went over that one game. Okay. All right, so let's take a look at how these two teams have played the last 10 times they've been out here on the field. So last 10 times these two teams have been out here on the field, the Jets are 5-5 straight up, 4-6 against the spread, 4 to the over, 5 to the under, and 1 push. All right. They've really been struggling, with or without Aaron Rodgers out there, and a lot of that comes back to Aaron Rodgers missing all that time in the mandatory mini camps and all that stuff, going out to Egypt. That's why he's not on the same page with Garrett Wilson. That's why they're talking about they need to go get Devontae Adams, in my personal opinion, because Aaron Rodgers is selfish. All right, next 3 games, they play against Buffalo, Pittsburgh, and New England. All right. Now, when you're looking at Minnesota, the last 10 times they've been out there, they're 5-5 straight up, 4-4-2 against the spread, and 5 to the over and 5 to the under in their last 10 games, guys. Minnesota is on that 4-game win streak thus far this season, and 4 games against the spread win streak. They've only had 1 over, and that was the last game against Green Bay. All right, everything else has gone under so far this season. And then head-to-head, next 3 games Minnesota has ahead are Detroit, the Rams, and the Colts. So they do have a couple big games coming up, guys. All right, so head-to-head, Minnesota runs the series 3-2 straight up. They run it 3-2 against the spread, and it's been 4 overs and 1 under. Last time these two teams did meet was way back in 2022. All right, Minnesota won that game 27-22. Minnesota's won the last 3 times these two teams have matched up out there on the field. They won it and they covered all 3 times, but the last 3 times it also went over. It really hasn't. They haven't had an under between them since December 17th, 2006, guys. All right, so what are we looking at, man? Where are we sitting at? So when you're looking at these two teams and you're looking at the trends that they've been putting out there thus far this season, New York Jets have hit the game total under in 12 of their last 20 games. The Minnesota Vikings have hit the money line in 13 of their last 20 games. New York Jets have hit the third quarter game total under in 11 of their last 17 games. The Minnesota Vikings have hit the first half money line in 12 of their last 20 games. New York Jets have hit the fourth quarter game total under in 11 of their last 17 games. And the Minnesota Vikings have hit the second quarter money line in 10 of their last 18 games. New York Jets have covered the fourth quarter spread in 6 of their last 9 away games. And the Minnesota Vikings have hit the fourth quarter game total under in their last 8 games at home. All right, now the New York Jets have hit the money line in 11 of their last 20 games, and the Minnesota Vikings have covered the spread in 13 of their last 20 games. New York Jets have covered the second half spread in 4 of their last 6 games, and the Minnesota Vikings have covered the first half spread in 14 of their last 20 games, guys. Each of the Vikings' last 7 games as favorites have gone under the total points line, and 5 of the Jets' last 6 Sunday games as underdogs has gone under the total point line as well. All right, Justin Jefferson has scored a touchdown in each of the Vikings' last 5 games. TJ Hockenson has recorded 55-plus receiving yards in each of the last 6 appearances following a win. And Aaron Jones has recorded 53-plus rushing yards in each of the last 6 appearances with his team as a favorite, guys. Breece Hall scored a touchdown in 7 of his 8 previous October appearances. Garrett Wilson has recorded 94-plus receiving plus rushing yards in each of the Jets' last 3 games against NFC North opponents. All right, and Aaron Rodgers has recorded 10-plus rushing yards in each of his last 3 October appearances against NFC North opponents. I don't anticipate to see any of that, guys. All right, so I'm going to stay with the Vikings, man. Minnesota has a few things to clean up after that close call versus the Green Bay Packers. However, the Vikings notched 374 total yards in that one. Okay, 254 passing with 22 first downs. That said, Minnesota also posted 3 turnovers, 7 penalties, and let's just call it what it is, a horrendous 4 of 11 rate on third downs. All right, and as for New York, they look like their old selves, man, on offense against the Broncos, despite the fact that they had Aaron Rodgers out there. All right, the Jets posted 248 total yards, 3.5 yards per play, 16 first downs, 13 penalties, and an ugly 4 of 17 rate on third down conversions. All right, the defense was comparatively great, though. They only allowed 186 yards. So Minnesota may have some troubles moving the ball consistently in this one. Ultimately, though, the Vikings are the better team, and they should be able to cover that 2.5. So I'm definitely rocking with the Vikings, and I like the under as the trend is heading towards the under, guys. But y'all tell me what y'all think. All right, I will post my plays in the comments. Y'all have a blessed day. Stay safe, and I'm gonna see you at the window. Peace.